or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do
What a great intro. Hello and welcome to Platos Cave. That's right. Coming to you from Australia, the land down under, for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. This is listener funded radio, so if you can donate, that would be awesome. Any kind of currency, really, to be honest. Or you cannot donate. That's okay too. Just tell people about the station. That would be helpful. Like, subscribe. That doesn't cost anything. Doesn't cost anything. Commenting is even better if you see this somewhere out in the wild. Much appreciated. This is a radio station that brings you ideas, both foreign and domestic, and makes you think, hopefully, in many ways. But before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we are broadcasting to you. And for my esteemed colleague, Dave, that is...
The Dark and Jung.
Look at you. And for myself, of course, the Dark People. Nice t-shirt. Is this Bullwinkle? That's Bullwinkle.
No, it's not.
We like to... Oh, what you nice. We would like to acknowledge and extend our respects to elders past, present, and future. Thank you very much. Wally World, yeah, that brings back memories. The first was the best, I think. I mean, the others were
was,
funny, but the first was just original. It was just poor old Clark Griswold. We are not getting any. We're not getting any let up. It's going to stay crazy. That's where we live now.
Guess what I want to do? I want to give you I want to buy you a coffee. That's what I'm going to do. For getting it right.
Yeah.
So long ago, Mickey. Now, so long ago.
Right.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Benjamin Netanyahu has now leaned towards the plan to fully occupy all of Gaza. That's in the news today. I know. To give this man a coffee, buy him a coffee, or donate to us.
Donate to us. It is painfully obvious that's what was going to happen, and I'm not going to go into what happened in October, if it was indeed an unprovoked, unencouraged, unintended attack on Israel. Not unintended by Israel, of course.
9/11, Mickey.
I think it was very much. 9/11, the Gulf of Tonkin, Pearl Harbor,
yep.
Taxbrand, you name it. Because the thing is this, when it comes to things, since we are talking about it, I do want to put some context around it. There is an easy way to determine, to ascertain whether or not something was done for a reason. Now, I think it was Bismarck, but I could be wrong. It might have been someone else who said there is no such thing as an accident in diplomacy, and he was just talking about generally in world affairs. And I think that is absolutely true. When something happens, it usually happens for a reason, or it happens because it was meant to happen, or someone wanted it to happen.
Of course.
And I think that the attack on the horrific. It was a horrific attack, and again, I have no problem saying that it is or was a horrific attack, inhumane. The things that happened were just completely unacceptable for any civilized human being. You just you don't do things like that, right? It's not excusing what's happening in Gaza today, though, because that's worse. In many ways, it's worse. And it's worse because it's perpetrated by a nation that is or has been the recipient of these kinds of persecutions throughout history, with its culmination in World War II and the Holocaust, of course. No, but when it comes to false flag events, you have to ask yourself who benefits. And the more people you can list that benefit from anything that happens, the more likely it is that this event was planned.
Mm-hmm.
If no one benefits, or just a couple of random folk benefit, then chances are it's probably a random event. But then you also have to ask yourself, well, what does benefiting actually mean? Because, well, benefits can come in many ways: money, power, prestige, political reach, but also the fulfillment of political agendas. And this is what we're looking at here. What happened was that Netanyahu was enabled by this attack to push really hard policies through, such as the invasion, if you will, of Gaza, the bombardment of Gaza, the cutting aid of Gaza, the incursions into the West Bank, and mainly driven by his two right-wing cabinet members that are really holding the balance of, or held the balance of power in his cabinet. So who benefited, or who will benefit? First of all, the hardline ultra-nationalists, of course. Anyone who wants the Palestinians out. And the Israeli nation, from a security point, in the short term at least, benefits because it has removed all threats near its borders. Hezbollah in the north, right, which was stationed in Lebanon, it was almost completely neutralized, right? And there's a 30-kilometer buffer zone now, if you will, where the Israelis destroyed all villages. It's just rubble for 30 kilometers, right? And then, of course, to the west and south, if you will, you have the Gaza Strip, and to the east you have the West Bank, and that is no longer really a threat, so it's under control. Now that's short-term thinking. Short-term thinking. The question now is, and someone asked the question as well, what does this do to the treaties that Israel has with the Arab nations? Because a lot of those treaties are predicated on the fact that the Palestinians in Gaza are going to be left alone. Right? So the treaties with Egypt and Jordan and others, will they feel obliged to honor those treaties? It's a very good question. I don't know. But Benjamin Netanyahu personally benefited significantly. The ultra-Orthodox, ultra-nationalists in Israel benefited immensely. And I want to say this again. I'm not an anti-Semite. It's like shooting myself in the foot if I were. But there were two organizations in Israel. One a medical organization, the other one a human rights organization, that have called what Israel is doing genocide now. That happened. These are Israelis calling the actions in Gaza genocide. Not ethnic cleansing, genocide. And they're doing so by focusing on the targeting of medical infrastructure, which is what Israel did. The starving out of civilians, right? And the general mistreatment of the population. 60,000 Palestinians have been killed, according to estimates. Some put the number a lot higher, and as Dave has mentioned before, that's just such a high ratio of children in these killed. It's like wiping out an entire generation, right? So it's a pretty horrendous situation. And again, if you have a false flag, you have to ask yourself who benefits, not just outline who the benefactors are. And maybe Trump's crazy plan to turn Gaza into some kind of Riviera or holiday resort is somewhere in the future. Who knows? Because you have to do something. It's all rubble. You have to clean it up. There's a lot of money to be made, by the way. A lot of money to be made. It is prime real estate because it is beautiful. Those beaches, it's the Eastern Mediterranean. It is fantastic. It is. I mean, I used to spend my summers there in Turkey and not in Israel, but it's a beautiful part of the world, right? So the real estate is worth gazillions, right? If you develop it. So I maintain that something sinister happened, and now we see the final stages. But will it bring Israel closer to what it wants, which is safety and security? And my answer here is probably not. Because just like America during 9/11, Israel has spent all its moral and ethical capital, all its empathy is gone. There's no one is really siding with Israel anymore in this, right? Yes, people still want the hostages to come home, of course, right? But at what point do you say, okay, this is no longer an appropriate response?
That was years ago.
That was years ago. If you're in a street fight and it's a fisticuff or whatever, and you pull out a gun or a knife, this is now a disproportionate application of violence. And what we're seeing in Gaza is a disproportionate application of violence. It is no longer a response that can be called appropriate. It is no longer an appropriate response. The violence is too much.
It's not balanced, measured, or appropriate.
Correct, 100%. But by the way, I think the Trump ultimatum on Putin is almost up, isn't it? Yeah, 10 days. Isn't that almost done?
Oh, it's got to be tomorrow or something, surely.
You know what's going to happen?
Hang on, is that one of Trump's own team blowing smoke up his butt?
I think that works for me. That works for me, brother. I think that's exactly what that is. Nothing will happen. Nothing. Because Trump will never act against Putin. It's not going to happen. I saw a funny thing. You know the puppet thing with Trump and all that?
Sure.
So Trump puppet says to Putin puppet, hey, I can't do the voice, but what he said is, hey, you're still bombing. I'm giving you an ultimatum. What you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And and Putin goes, I don't care. I do whatever I want. Blah, blah, blah. And then Trump goes, he goes like this, smack the puppet. And then he just does a roundhouse swing, right? And he hits India. Oh, Prime Minister Modi. And he goes, what hit me for? I gotta hit someone. Can't hit him. I gotta hit someone. Which, of course, was an allusion to the tariffs that Trump levied against India.
So officially, Mekki, the 10-day ultimatum was 8 days ago. So there's 2 days.
Really?
Yeah, 2 days left. That would be American days. So sure. We'll see.
So Friday. Let's call it Friday.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's going to happen. And if he does put in sanctions, they're not going to be any more effective than the sanctions already in place against Russia. Russia doesn't care. India,
Sure.
China, Brazil, a few others, they're buying his oil, his gas. It's all good. It's all good. So he doesn't really care. He really doesn't.
I still call that the Russian bride thing should have been a boon for the rest of the world, but that hasn't come about. Was that the plan all along? I'm being silly. I really am being silly.
Maybe. All I know is that this kind of situation I have never seen. I can't think of a time in history when we were in this kind of situation where there were so many irrational players.
Yeah.
right? It does boggle the mind when you see just how many players out there are non-rational actors, and it's a whole new world. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the tariffs are coming into effect or have come into effect. There'll be yeah, I don't know, Dave. It's gonna be funny.
Well, do you want today's theme is my t-shirt. Wally World. This is we're living in I'd say the craziest times in history. I know I'm reiterating what you said, but geopolitics has never been this crazy.
No.
Remember the olden days, Meki, where people were just stern, said very little. They didn't tweet from the toilet. They didn't. There was no social media. What your press, or sorry, let's call it what it really is, Foreign Office. What your Foreign Office issued to the global community was your hardest, sternest words. But they were all in gentleman's speak.
Yeah.
And what's the yes Prime Minister were phrasing for doing something completely stupid? Courageous.
Just tell him he's very courageous. You know, what?
What? Yeah. So see what it does? It lights parts of the brain up, and I'm not seeing any of this. I'm just seeing quip after quip, tweet, news story. Suddenly, Sydney, whatever her name is, has declared herself a Republican, the one that was in the jeans ad, and Trump goes, "Oh, she's Republican. Good for her." Like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, "Yeah, the right media loves it. The left media, the woke media, is absolutely trouncing on it. You know, how dare they? They even threw a MAGA cap wearing person out of a sporting event. This is how I just don't understand. I don't understand why the left, who is mostly pacifist, unless there's something that I need to burn to show my support of, even if it's a car that's worth $90,000 that I bought, I'm going to destroy it because I believe so vehemently that I'm doing the right thing. So it appears as though under the leadership of Donald Trump, the US has, at least half of the US is now anti-woke. The other half is doubling down. Kamala just released a book of her life. She couldn't have written it herself, to be honest with you. If you listen to her for 5 seconds, there's not a chance. However, maybe she's brilliant like that, and she did write it herself. She went on to the least popular TV show now, and it's been cancelled. It's got a future date to close it down, on Colbert, to promote it. And there wasn't a single sentence that she said that she didn't laugh as the end of the sentence without concluding the sentence. So she starts a sentence and then just laughs out the end of it. I didn't even know what she said. I tried to watch it, but all the vomit at the back of my throat was just too hard to deal with. So, you know, I need like a feed bag just to vomit into. Worst packed lunch ever. That's a joke, an Australian comic joke. So, like I said, I don't understand. I think she's trying to, like I said on Sunday, I think she's trying to keep herself in the media and maybe hoping to run again in whatever, 2029. Yeah? Maybe. I don't understand how that could even be possible.
I mean, look, I've given up on American politics. It doesn't make any sense anymore. No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense, no.
The thing, but a lot of people that think like us, Dave, and are informed just as we are, and our esteemed listenership as well, have realized that the system itself is done.
It's broken.
Yes, is done.
That's right.
It's beyond repair. So you need another system. You need something better, something that works, right? That represents the people. Because ultimately, you have to ask yourself, why? And I know I keep coming back to this, and it sounds boring, but the truth is this: why are we doing any of this, right? And the answer is, of course, because we're trying to build a civilization, a society, right? And what that means is this is something for everybody. Everybody participates. It is a place where you can live in peace. It's a place where your children can grow into having a future.
Oh,
That's
imagine that. Yeah.
Imagine
but
that.
The system we actually have is completely opposite. It only supports the people at the top. Everyone else is a useless eater. There's no money at all. All the governments are completely broke. Completely broke.
Yeah.
They've never made so much money. And yet they're broke. There's no money for anything that they really need to do. And they just tend to put rules on us and not rules on themselves. So, if that was the way, Meki, and I think to answer your question, if this system is broken, which I agree that it is, 100% broken, then if it's for the people, then you don't need a government itself. You could abandon the people in the government and have direct democracy. That we all lead by voting in the direction that we believe is the right direction. And no one's going to vote to, if it's everybody, we outnumber the few that are the echelon of our society. So since we outnumber them, they would never get anything passed. We would never want to vote for rich people to get richer and for us to get poorer. That's never going to be an option which we would favour.
That wasn't on the ticket.
So if direct democracy was a thing, it would probably require a single world government with a single world currency and all of us receiving UBI before they would want to do it. Because I don't think they would do it willingly now when they're holding the chips. They're holding all of the advantage. They'll play this until we're not here anymore. They would play and perpetuate, let's call it, for what they call it, democracy. It's really not democracy at all. There should be voting rules and say like a website where they make those accomplishments. Anything outside of what they stood for should not be allowed at all. Just shouldn't be allowed. I know things come up like, oh, there might be a war. That's fine. We could all vote to either participate or not participate. Do we feel strongly enough or patriotic enough to want to fight for our country? They're really good questions to ask, because have we changed so much now as a society, having lived in fear for 24 years? Because that's before 25 years ago, it was pre 9/11. And anything was possible. And since 24 years ago, we've been in perpetual fear. The media has driven us into a heightened state of awareness where everything's bad. Then we had a pandemic that had its outcome with its measures, and it showed how, let's call it, I didn't believe, it's all in air quotes, I didn't believe any government of the world would be 3 rules away from autocracy. But that's exactly what happened. I thought there'd be processes and there'd be a slow march, mind the expression, slow march into autocracy. But now it's a couple of rules, and there you go. Hey, look, you wake up one morning and suddenly the whole world is crazy. And it made me think, Maggie, that, the Second Amendment, and what's the one for the bear arms? Is that second? The right to bear arms against for the reason of whatever the amendment is, for the reason of my American democracy teacher would be spitting in his grave right now. But tyrannical government. So we had a gun buyback. We've got no way of being able to defend ourselves against a militarized police. We just don't. It's impossible. It's Second Amendment. Yeah, cool. So I was right. Woo! And lucky it didn't require exercising in the US, because the government just was one step away from that autocracy in the US. Here, we had one of the worst experiences on the planet. At least we didn't get the AZ that England had, because that would have been even worse for us. So I don't know. Look, I would go with direct democracy, and if we were all separated and we didn't have social media, and then we couldn't kind of collaborate and form collective ideas to push things in a certain direction. I think that's been the biggest downfall of the last, say, 5 years, is these pushes that have drawn a narrative and basically been the Pied Piper of collecting people into groups and causing division in our countries. So much so that I think it's going to be a hard ask to reverse that wokeism. It sounds good. Not wokeism doesn't sound good, but respecting each other sounds fantastic. That was already a law. It's already rules. Can't be cruel. All the other things in there, you can't, all the things that are already against the law, they already cover everything anyway. So what was it we were really fighting for? What was it that the woke community was fighting for? To be accepted? Well, they were a part of the community. That pendulum swung so darn hard towards woke that if you take the pressure off it, it's immediately going to swing to the other side. If this was a gradual thing that occurred very slowly, and we were all in agreement and lockstep of where it should be, and everyone should be accepted, and leave it at that expression, then we would all be much happier today. It wouldn't have had so much pushback or kickback, and you couldn't stand on moving it from the center if it was there organically. But I think the push caused the shove. And now back to you in the studio.
You've run out of things to say. No, look, for the first time in history, the parasites, which are not contributing at all. And make no mistake, parasites have been around for a long time and always been with us, but this is the first time ever that parasites have created generational parasitism, apart from, royalty, etc., where as a parasitic family, you don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to contribute. You just live off the money that you have, which is an illusion, of course. You don't have to contribute to society. You don't have to do anything useful, right? If we took the parasites away tomorrow, society would go on much better than it does today. They would not be missed, right? The billionaires, as well as the invisible parasites, would not be missed. That's a fact. You take the garbage men away, you take away the sanitary workers, you take away nurses, take away cooks, short order cooks, things like that, truck drivers, society crumbles. That's what will happen. The parasites have absolutely no impact, but they hold all the power and all the wealth. So how did that happen? Over time. It happened over time, and we just bought into it. There was violence involved and murder. Look at the banking wars and ruthless I guess conspiring against the greater good. Right, all of these things happened, and in fact, it was really a rebellion against the banking system that led to the American Revolution. Because it was the banking system that was threatened with the issue of the greenback. It wasn't about tea, it was about the right to issue your own currency in the States. But the parasites are here, and unfortunately, they have bamboozled the vast majority of the human population either into a false sense of security, or they have so marginalized them as to not to matter. I'm talking about the people that are not having enough to eat. I'm talking about the people that are starving, living at or existing at the fringes of the acceptable, right? Like Gaza times a million, all around the world, in Africa, parts of Asia, parts of South America, right? The disenfranchised. So either you're fat and happy, right, or couldn't be bothered, or you're playing with your TikTok or whatever you're doing. I don't know what you do, and completely disinterested. So if you've disenfranchised yourself, yeah, or you believe the lie, which and a lot of people are coming to realize, especially in America. Hang on, this is a lie. This is not what I wanted. This is not a cleanup of the swamp. And again, we're focusing on America because it matters what happens in America. America let the parasites in. America let the banks win. Well, didn't let them win. There was a fight. Thomas Jefferson. Look at Thomas Jefferson. He put up quite a fight against the banking system. But we are where we are. And again, I will repeat it one more time. I do not understand why you thought that the billionaire with a track record of failed businesses, sexual predation, fraud, and questionable choices in general would ever stand up for your rights in America. I don't understand why you would think that. I really don't. I don't get it. It's ludicrous. And now you're getting what you voted for. People, a person once said, wise person, people always have the government they deserve. I do hope that you deserve better, America. I hope that Australia deserves better, because we're not far behind you. While we're there's a bit more common sense here in Australia, and I don't think we would go as far as you guys have gone over there, because it's just stupid. I still feel that our system here is broken as well. And there are models of how we could live. Not utopian models, but models that are right now being practiced by nation states, Scandinavia, for example. Any of those, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, you look at how they live and how they organize sovereign wealth funds. We talked about this before. Because society is for the people. We come together for the people.
Mm-hmm.
So we can live in safety and peace. That's the idea. And progress, human endeavor, and knowledge. That's what we should be doing, but we're not. The only thing that's driving this Western society is the profit motive, and it is ultimately doomed to destruction. It is doomed to failure, catastrophic failure. Because there's nothing else underwriting it. There's no greater moral understanding. There's no greater philosophical insight that underscores the system that we have. There isn't. It's just about making more and more profit. That's it. To the point where we will fire all the people that work, destroy our economy, because there's no one left to buy anything. And then we'll sit there on a mountain of money and thinking, why did it all fall apart? What happened? The great see this is interesting thing. Individually, we think we don't make an impact. The same goes for the parasite, the uninformed parasite that don't have an agenda. They think individually, well, even if I have $1 billion, what impact could I make? Possible. It is the symptom. It's the symptomatic issue. It's the very fact that we have billions problem. That we have a system that allows for this obscene accumulation of wealth. Obscene. Obscene because millions of people are starving to death, dying of diseases needlessly, engaged in wars over resources. That's why it's obscene. But the system is allowed to continue because we've been brought up in a system. We've been brainwashed. We think that's it. This is the system. Dave said it. Whoever said that it's normal to sleep, wake up, work, go home, sleep, etc. That sleep, work, eat cycle. How is that life? How is that normal? How is that how we should live? Our nomadic ancestors, before we decided to go into cities, had a much more vivid life, a much more immediate life, and according to some scientists, a lot more leisure time than we have today, especially if they happen to live in a very lush area, right, that they passed through, for example, where the hunting was good, where the picking was good, right? Because you don't need agriculture and domesticated animals if you're a nomad. You just hunt and forage. That's good enough, especially if your population isn't billions and billions. Right? You can live very much in harmony with nature, like many what we call primitive tribes do. Not so primitive when you think about it. But Dave, it really worries me when I see these things, and no one is doing anything about Gaza. They talk about everybody talks a great game. No one is doing anything about the Ukraine. Not really. No one is doing anything about the Uyghurs or Myanmar or Sudan or the various other conflicts. I mean, Haiti is horrendous, but it's not in the news anymore. But it's still just as bad as it was 6 months ago. But we don't want to. It's not interesting anymore, right? It's out of the news cycle. It's out of the news cycle. You can't. You cannot take your eye off the ball. If you want to change the world, you have to be consistent and stick with it, right? If you believe that that's something that should happen, right? We shouldn't have had a march on the Harbor Bridge on Sunday. We should occupy the Harbor Bridge for months or years until there's change, right? A protest march once in a blue moon does nothing. It doesn't even make the news cycle anymore. It doesn't. It's not even deliberately cut out. It's just not interesting. People aren't interested to tune into it. Mao went on his long march with millions of people, toppling the old regime and forcing the Kuomintang to flee to what was then Formosa, is now Taiwan. You have to mobilize the people. The French Revolution mobilized the people. Now, unfortunately, the outcome wasn't ideal, but people. But the people were mobilized and focused against the enemy, which happened to be the aristocracy, right? Same in Russia. Same. Okay. The entire Romanov lineage was wiped out, right? In one fell swoop. Didn't turn out too good either. Right? It's really terrifying to think about what might happen if we give up our comfort and opt for a revolution, right? And what would it look like? What would it be? I'm reminded of the end of the movie of Fight Club, when Tyler Durden sits there with himself, and there's smoke coming out of the side of his mouth where he shot himself, and Mala is there, I think, as well, and he's on top of or high floor on the skyscraper, and all around himself, I don't know which city he's in, could be New York, but all around himself he sees these skyscrapers blowing up. Pop, 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 pop. It started in every city in America. Where he had a chapter, something similar would be happening. Fight Club is a revolutionary novel. It is calling for revolution. All right. It doesn't come out as clearly in the movie, but that's exactly what it is. And funnily enough, the main character, who happened to be a split personality, schizophrenic, I guess, was the leader. So it took a mad person in many ways to lead this revolution, right? At least as far as the author was concerned. So is that what we need? A mad person to lead our revolution? I don't know. But he brought everything down to level 0. So he blew it all up, the entire system, the banking system, everything is blown up. And let's start again. Now, of course, what would happen is the law of the jungle, and the strongest would, try to rule, etc., etc. It would just be another mess. We have to find a better way, Dave. There has to be a better way than revolution, because revolution, it'll just turn out to be the same over and over again. Look at South Africa. The black population was oppressed for decades, actually hundreds of years, to be honest. And then there was a flip, and then there was a backlash against the white Afrikaner. Okay, Israel is populated by the Jewish people, which have been persecuted for hundreds of years. And then it flips, and they persecute the Palestinians. It always flips. The French Revolution, right, didn't last long. The Russian Revolution ended in carnage, and the Chinese Revolution sparked the Counter-Revolution, which killed thousands, or millions. The revolution is not the answer, because the smartest people with the best intentions are not put in charge, right? That's the problem. Even the American Revolution, if you look at what happened, eventually was turned 180. Even the American Revolution. Read the Bill of Rights, read your Constitution, and really understand what is being said, and then look at America today. It's nothing like what was envisioned at all, right? And so the question is, what is the right way? And I tell you what the right way is. Technological advancement. We have to move into a post-scarcity society with free energy, where conflict becomes unnecessary, where the parasitic structure collapses because money is no good anymore. Okay? You can now live comfortably without working for the machine. You can live comfortably without selling your time. You can really live and do what it is that you want to do, what drives your passion, be a painter, teacher, a writer, a farmer, because people have passions, believe it or not. And but in a post-scarcity society where all your needs are taken care of, physical needs, will leave you free to develop and explore. Imagine intergalactic travel, instantaneous. Okay, no more bills. There are no more bills to pay. Imagine that. There are no more bills to pay to anyone. You don't owe anyone anything. What? The system will collapse. Yes. Yes, it will. But only the system, not the people. Because the people are okay. Does that make sense? I know
it does make sense.
It's not far-fetched. I want to be clear. Yeah.
So, Meki,
it's not a far-fetched thing.
In the chat room, they're saying your volume's very low, and I didn't realize that my volume has been turned up. So,
okay,
you're probably the quietest you've been in a number of years.
How is this? Is this better?
I think it was just the volume at which you're speaking, not the mic, not the mic volume. Yeah.
Well, that makes you listen all the closer, doesn't it? What did he say?
Hey.
Where's his onion? Give me his onion. What's going on?
It's a brown onion, Mickey,
I
as
really
you know.
wish, because the Kaiser stole all the white ones.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish that we could move into that direction. I really do. And with quantum physics and what we now think we know about the nature of the universe, to some extent, positive manifestation is what we want. Lifting ourselves by our bootstraps out of the mud. Lifting ourselves out of the mud. Because we could. Yeah, the universe can bend itself to your will. Just imagine a world without conflict. That'd be nice.
Yeah, wouldn't it? But look, you say that, and today Australia announced that Japan is going to be making 3 of these stealth frigates, and we're going to build a brand new port in Western Australia to build the other 8. But it's going to cost us $20 billion for the first 3. You know, Mackie, that as soon as the government ever has any loose change in its pocket, who are the first people to go to the government with their hand out and their glossy brochures? It's the military. Straight away. They're like, yeah, oh, I heard you got some money. Yeah, we do. Have you ever considered buying one of these? And how good is it? Yeah, how good is it? Oh, it's the best thing you've ever... In fact, you won't know yourself. Oh, really? Yeah, it's going to do everything you want. And so, submarines, Mackie, helicopters, now frigates, fantastic. But on a time scale which is unrealistic, the first 3 we get in a decade's time, just like all the other things, like the submarines. I can imagine them sitting on a shelf and Australia doesn't exist anymore. And, well, the manufacturer got paid, so what does it really matter? I just don't understand why it takes so long. Why can't you build all 3 at once?
I don't think we have the capacity anymore.
Oh, we don't? No, but Japan is building them.
Yeah, I don't know if Japan. I mean, they wouldn't be the only. Like, we're not the only customer. I would think.
And they're also building their own ships. And so this would just be, because remember the rules changed so that Japan can have fixed wing aircraft, not rotating wing, which is helicopters, carriers. Correct. They're allowed those now. So, maybe they had a little bit of bandwidth up their sleeve. Maybe this is part of an iron ore deal as well, because you can't build ships without that. Maybe. So, I look forward to finding out more, but I don't want to know why the whole world is suddenly now buying military equipment. It's on a scale never seen, outside of World War II.
Because we're living in uncertain times, and good fences make for good neighbors, right? So
yeah, that's right.
Do what you can to protect this. Yeah, the protection that people feel they have with these things is it's not an illusion. It's a real enough thing, but the problem is that if everybody starts buying more and more weapons, and at some point there's so many weapons that something goes just sideways, it goes wrong, and all of a sudden you stand there going, oh, that's not so good. I didn't think it would actually happen. Someone pulled the trigger here. What?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, something we didn't really want, but now have to deal with. Thank you very much. So it's a funny old thing, because if you have all this hardware accumulating, someone
Rusting away on the shelves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gotta use it, brother. Gotta use it. I mean, this is why the Ukraine war is such a great thing for the armament sector.
Yeah,
Getting rid of all. I mean, the Russians are pulling out World War II tanks.
that's right.
Out of mothballs, right? Can you imagine how much these nations are going to pay to replace all the ordnance once
Yeah.
this thing is over? It's going to be phenomenal. It's just going to be massive. There's going to be huge spending.
Mm-hmm.
Trillions are going to be spent globally. Now, the reason Trump is asking all these nations to increase their defense spending is, of course, because America is the single biggest weapons manufacturer on the planet. So the vast majority of these nations are going to go to America to buy their weapons. That's why he's asking to increase the defense budget. That's what that is. Now, I hope that the Europeans have learned a lesson and are now going, you know what? I think we should get weapon systems that we manufacture and we control, and we don't need any American help, because we now know that America under Donald Trump, or whoever is going to be like Donald Trump in the future, cannot be relied upon to be a good ally and help us. Right? Because that's the truth. You can't. America can no longer be relied upon. If nothing else has come out of the last 6 months, it's that. No more.
Well, post
No
World
more
War II, they didn't want to. They didn't pre World War II. They didn't want to be included in anything. And it seems like an odd return at this point in history to go back to like an isolationist view.
It is odd, especially because it was America who built globalism. Producing cheap goods in countries where there are no labor laws. That's really what drove this whole thing, right? Profit again, profit. It's funny that the instigator, because it wasn't China that was driving globalism, it wasn't Russia that was driving globalism, it wasn't Europe that was driving globalism, it was the United States that was driving globalism. All the American companies that have their factories everywhere now, right? That's who was driving globalism in the name of profit. So yeah, you're right. It makes actually no sense at all that these people are now America is stepping away from it. It makes sense in a historical context. Because America has done this before. That's how they used to be. Okay, I get it, right? It doesn't make sense in the current context because America built it.
Yeah.
They built it, and now they're abandoning it, and China's moving in and says, thank you very much. Love what you've done with the place. It's really, it is funny. I find it hilarious. I really do. It's Donald Trump does not understand at all how international relations work and how to maintain America's supremacy. You don't maintain America's supremacy with tariffs and insanity. You don't. You do it by soft diplomacy, U.S. aid, projects, foreign aid, blah blah blah, all that stuff. That's what you do. And now out the window. Not interested. It's gonna
out the window, like just like a Russian who has gone against the system, Mackie, out the window.
Oh, he caught the defenestration virus, the Russian.
We only have 1 minute left.
Yeah, I figured there wasn't much left. But yeah, look, I understand that we're living in uncertain times. Uncertain times are scary. Try to make the right choices. This has been Platos Cave with Dave and Mackie. We hope you enjoyed the hour you spent with us. If it was a bit low, I do apologize. My voice is still a little strained from my recent COVID encounter, so I do apologize for that. Don't go anywhere because something awesome is going to come up. Obviously, someone is going to be here, taking you through the next few hours. But ultimately, it'd be nice to see someone like or subscribe to our content, and it would be nice to see someone donate to the station. All these things are goodness. Or tell people about the station. That's also good. But most of all, Dave,
be safe. Also, like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you on Thursday, 7 a.m. Eastern, for Plato's Cave again. And then on Sunday, catch us for Shiny Side Out, 2 to 4 a.m.